Bridge Technomat? Abloy?
Lord Captain.
Let's talk about things that may be useful to me as a rogue trader.
A noble aspiration, Lord Captain. I am ready to acquaint you with all the particulars that interest you.
Outline the situation in the Koronus Expanse for me. What do I need to know and keep in mind?
This is a topic for an official briefing, not a casual conversation. But I will try to answer succinctly. And if you permit, in my own words. The Koronus Expanse is considerably removed from the heart of the Imperium. This means that local warp routes become useless within months. Established pathways are regularly subject to attacks from all kinds of rabble. And in the only major port, the Imperium's frigates find themselves moored alongside pirate vessels. Until recently, the Koronus Expanse could hardly have been called a region of the Imperium. The situation has changed with the arrival of the Lord Inquisitor, but not by much. This place operates under its own rules, you see. More radical, so to speak. But ones that allow for a non-standard approach where there is a promise of victory. The Koronus Expanse is considered rogue trader territory for a reason. Only rogue traders have sufficient military might, audacity, and the rights granted them by the warrant to survive the leap into the unexplored part of the Expanse, and in the event of a successful outcome, to hold on to whatever they manage to capture on the frontier.
Who are the main players I need to be aware of in the Koronus Expanse?
In the first instance, you should treat official representatives of the Imperium with respect. The Expanse may be on the fringes, but it still numbers among the territories of the Golden Throne. The arrival of the Lord Inquisitor has turned the Koronus Expanse into a less wild and uncontrolled region, to the regret of some individuals who had grown inured to the local lawlessness. Rogue traders such as yourself are also servants of the Imperium. They have been accorded special rights and powers. They wield immense authority within their territory, and they enjoy absolute respect in other parts of the Expanse. The most powerful of them are Caligos Winterscale and Incendia Bastal Chora. Tread carefully when dealing with either of them. If we are to speak of unclaimed territory, which is what Footfall is, among the scum that dwells on that handful of asteroids, there are 3 factions that wield considerable influence in the sector. The first is the Kazbala Commission, organized crime in its most primitive form. It holds sway over the Liege of Footfall and has links to rogue trader Winterscale. The second faction is an offshoot of our shining ecclesiarchy, followers of St. Drusus. They are actively building their forces and hold influence over rogue trader Chorda. And finally, the third faction, the Explorators, a wing of the Adeptus Mechanicus. They are willing to die and kill for the secrets of the ancient technological heresies that are hidden among the stars of the Koronus Expanse.
As Balika Mission, the Footfall chapter of one of the most successful crime syndicates in the Imperium of Man founded in the Calixus sector. Kunrad, our previous master of whisperers, what can you tell me about his betrayal? What do you think he'll do next?
You know, Lord Captain, I am no admirer of fine art. But when we next find ourselves in a civilized port, with time to spare, I will promptly find an artist and commission a portrait of the individual to whom you refer, with a hole between the eyes. Conrad Voigtveer. That he committed his treachery and escaped with his life was an unforgivable oversight. We both served Lord Captain Theodora for many years, and we never saw eye to eye. He was brash. He was never afraid of assuming responsibility, and he willingly took on difficult tasks. I am loath to admit it, but the Von Velatius Protectorate continues to reap the fruits of his labors to this day. His service always garnered my respect. But everything else about him made me want to wring the neck of that two-faced snake. If you are taking comfort in the thought that we will hear no more of Conrad, prepare to be disappointed. You thwarted his plans, his meticulously plotted and nurtured treachery. He is sure to attempt to strike at you, and he will use his contacts and knowledge of the Protectorate to do so. The only question, Lord Captain, is whether you will be able to anticipate his next steps.
That is all for now.
As you wish, Lord Captain.
I'd like to know more about you.
As you wish, Lord Captain. What would you like to know?
Tell me about yourself. What were you before you came through to our Seneschal?
I used to be an officer in the Navis Imperialis. No, used to be is not quite right. It was not simply a job. It was my calling, the essence of my life. I was proud to serve Lord Captain Theodora, but in my heart and mind, I'm still an officer of the Imperium. I met Lord Captain Theodora on a mission where the Imperial Navy was providing reinforcements to the rogue traders' army on one of the frontier worlds. Our acquaintance was not easy. Working with people outside the Navy hierarchy has never been my strong suit. It was to my great surprise then, that after the mission's completion, I received a referral to leave my service in the Navy and join the rogue traders' personal council. It was a difficult choice for me, but I saw in the offer a chance to serve the interests of humanity even more effectively than in the Navis Imperialis. You do not need me to tell you just how remarkable a person Lord Captain Theodora was. I recognized her at once as a true leader and formidable creative force. One who had built a protectorate amidst the dangers and wildness of the Expanse.
Leaving the Imperial Navy is far from easy. Why were you permitted to quit your post?
You could say there was no one among the naval command who was willing to impede the wishes of the rogue trader. To do so would be to risk their own position and their relationship with Theodora. Well, the Lord Captain possessed certain contacts in the Imperial Navy. Contacts which she used to request help during the conflict on the border world. And which enabled her to make me an offer that resulted in my joining her retinue. The Navis Imperialis is an ancient institution with its own mandates and muster lists. On occasion, in the heat of an official briefing, or an informal discussion, I violated those rules, determined to press my point. It is challenging to choose the words to accurately express my opinion on a situation or the actions of others that do not sound overly scathing or confrontational. Many in command were inclined to view my manner of speaking as unbefitting a person of my rank.
What are you talking about Theodora? I'm beginning to think you were in love with her.
What? Lord Captain, any allegations of improper feelings or unsanctioned relations are utterly baseless and bordering on the insulting. Utterly baseless.
Sure. Do you have a family?
I am a widower. I am a father of 4, and if my information is not outdated, a grandfather of 11. My family lives on Dargonus. None of my children express any eagerness or aptitude for serving aboard ship, and I would hardly have insisted that they follow in my footsteps.
No more questions.
Of course.
Other than these questions. You may become my first name if you wish.
I thank you for the honor, but I must decline. As a former military officer, I believe in the importance of order in all things, including the chain of command. You are the Lord Captain, my direct superior. I am not prepared to address you in any way other than as regulation dictates.
Take my leave.
Lord Captain.
Ablard. All right. Hello, bridge technomat. You don't want to talk. Bridge officers, just normal. High factotum generous Danrock. The corpulent man in lavish clothes bounds before you, not without difficulty. A servo skull whirs over his shoulder while the fingers of an augmented hand drum against the sheath papers he's holding as he regards you with attentive interest through the lens of magnifying implant. Greetings, your lordship. Generous Danrock at your service. Remind me, what is it you do on my ship? Oh my god, look how much there is. As the high factotum, my duties encompass anything that might enrich you and your protectorate. See to it that suppliers deliver all shipments on time, that our partners do not weasel out of their promises, that all servants remember that the Emperor's grace can only be earned through toil for the good of the Von Valancius dynasty. I also make arrangements to ensure that our hold receives less than thorough inspections by port customs officers, and I find buyers for whatever you wish to sell. How'd you come to serve the Von Valancius? I come from Dargonus, your lordship. I've been a subject of your dynasty since birth, and I've always strived to be of use to the great rogue trader. Alas, it was not my fate to be the primary heir of my own family due to me being the 15th in line for the title, so I decided to not stand in the way of those behind me in case they attempted to shorten the waiting list at my expense. He lets out a chuckle. My brothers and sisters schemed against one another. I studied the exact sciences and mastered bookkeeping, the greatest art of the adeptus administratum. I must admit that the accumulation of wealth, something one can control, is far more exciting than hunting, carousing, and other traditional amusements of my noble peers. What's it like working for Theodora? Oh, now that's a tricky question, your lordship. Do you ask it of everyone, knowing they risk losing their head should they let a slip of a clearest remark about your predecessor? I should put it thus. Working with the Lady Theodora was never boring and always profitable. The Imperium has billions of subjects, but very few do what they love and what they are best suited. I would say Lady Theodora was one of the fortunate ones. She was a model rogue trader, and she surrounded herself with those who excelled at and loved their work. Hers was a rare talent indeed. I know what you think of your fellow crew members. Keeping tabs on your subordinates. Wise move. Tell me who interests you, and I'll endeavor to be honest as possible. His eyes light up. Tell me what you think about Abelard. Lady Theodora managed to do what even the Imperial Navy could not. Teach your master Rosarian to carry out orders that he fundamentally disagrees with. I do not know what method she used, but the result was impressive. Having said that, there's something else you need to know. Lord Captain, your Central is capable of being something far greater than a mere conduit of your will. He possessed the cunning experience to run the Protectorate passively whenever Lady Theodora was away, and that really is saying something. Keep an eye on that old officer, I say, or alternatively turn him into a faithful ally. I'd like to hear your opinions on Conrad Voigtveer, the former Master of Whisperers. I hope I never see him set foot on this vessel again, not even as a servitor, although he would be able to do some good that way. Someone has to clean the latrines after all. His bloated face grows stern. He gave us all quite a fright on that ill-fated day, Lord Captain, and I still to speak candidly, I never enjoyed Master Voigtveer's company, but I believed him to be a man who knew how to do his job. Regretfully, I was mistaken. It turned out Conrad lacked even the most important quality of the Master of Whisperers, unwavering loyalty to the rogue trader, and his failing came to light in the most deplorable manner. What do you have to say about the Voxmaster? Oh yes, the Voidborn. You know, in my family, we use such creatures as quarry whenever we went hunting. Mutants are the bane of humanity, an unseen tumor that threatens to end us all. But I digress. In the brief time Tolman has spent in the post as Voxmaster, I have not noticed any significant flaws in her character or anything that would make me question her professional qualities. Needless to say, she's very diligent, as is any Voidborn seeking to earn their master's affection. I believe you can trust her skills and loyalty. I want to know more about the people who buy our plunder. Of course, Lord Captain. Who interests you exactly? We must not deal with the followers of the St. Drusus, the Explorators, and Casabalica mission, or Emperor forgive us, the Fellowship of the Void. What does St. Drusus require from us? The Drusians still hope to bring the Koronus Expanse into the warm embrace of the faith, just as their flock hopes to receive the aid of the Drusian missionaries. Each crate of food, shipment of clothes, or box of medicine marked with your seal is a sign of the rogue trader himself believes in the sect's future success. Reverend Hieronymus is the first among the Drusians and is most often seen in the footfall's grand atrium. A gloomy fellow, but most believe him to be a saint. Tell me more about the Explorators. Members of the Explorator Cognizance fleet, which has been roaming the Koronus Expanse for a good while now. Omnissiah knows what they are hoping to find, but their acolytes regularly show up on the inhabited world seeking bits of sacred knowledge, tracking down mechanical relics, and sniffing out Xeno artifacts. If truth be told, supposedly they want to save the ignorant rabble from corruption. A tech priest named Opticon 22 does business with us on the fleet's behalf. He can be found in the docks Footfall. I'm interested in the Casabalica mission. Masters of the cold trade, immoral criminals, and notorious crooks to the last man. The mission is one branch of the mafia gang that's taken from the Calixus sector. You can do business with them as long as you take the necessary precautions. They are led by Vladium Takara, who recently appointed himself Legion of Footfall. Of course, he is a trusted ally of Rogue Trader Winterscale, but he would not refuse you. Another Emperor is anointed. If you wish to talk to Vladium, look for him in the Legion's Palace on Footfall. What is the Fellowship of the Void? It's a laugh like a gurgle, a pompous name, is it not? In truth, they are a gang of pirates who are forever squabbling over loot and territory. However, some of their little flotillas need supplies or can take awkward cargo off our hands without asking questions. Of course, there's always a risk that the scoundrels will change their mind and attempt to board us instead, but so far our macro cannons have managed to keep them lying. They say Ryza Calvaria speaks on the Fellowship's behalf. The Adeptus Amasius on Footfall is rumored to be your favorite haunt. Why are we giving away our spoils to these people in the first place? To profit from them, of course. Most of the things you find in the expeditions are complete junk to ones such as yourself. The less fortunate and affluent servants of the Emperor think of them as treasures, especially when they were stood by the great rogue trader himself. Fruitian fanatics and pirate cutthroats, Casabalica dealers, and explorators none refuse our help in the dark, trying times, and there may come a time when we shall be the ones requiring aid, and it would be beneficial to have allies willing to provide. Alright. Wish to bolster my retinue with skilled fighters. Rest assured, there are people of the outstanding talents among your 1,000 crews that contact the overseers at once. We could make custom characters. We might consider that, but probably not. Let's keep talking. Our need of training. I'll show you firing chambers at once. We could reset their progress. Okay. Cool. Okay, so we can retrain. Enough questions. I'll return later. Awesome, 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 awesome. Let's keep walking, shall we? Is there anyone over here? There's a thing, but not anyone to talk to. Anyone at all to talk to down here? It would appear not. Oh, Adira, maybe she'll talk for herself at least. The tall middle-aged woman stares straight ahead, her eyes vacant as she rubs the implant in her temple. Her collar is undone and then one of her clamps on the verge of falling off. You sense your presence. Adira turns her head towards you and offers a crooked smile even as her eyes look right through you. Adira, about your abilities.
What are you talking about, Lord Captain?
You are a psyker. Psykers are only granted the right to live with their Emperor's blessing. Have you ever been to Terra?
Look, Lady Theodora couldn't care less if some eggheads measured my brains or not. It's not about the seal on your forehead, get it? It's about what's in your gut, if it's rotten or not. My gut's stronger than the adamantine on this here ship. And my implants are better than the ones they put in you on your Terra. If they weren't, I wouldn't have lived as long as I have.
Where do you come from?
Lyra, an outlying world in the Heathen Stars region. In the Koronus Expanse, the deeper you go, the less visible the Astronomicon gets, and the less people know about the Imperium. The arrival of a rogue trader is the best thing that can happen to a world like that. The very best.
Tell me about Lyra.
It's an out-of-the-way planetoid between two faint stars. On Lyra, a dozen local tyrants fight over 5 measly continents. But they use everything they can to win, from poison to psychers. I haven't been there in many years, but there's nothing for me to miss. Trust me. But here on the ship is a different story altogether. I saw more wonders in my first year serving Lady von Valancius than I'd seen in my whole life on Lyra. Like my first journey through the warp, I was in bed for 3 days. I felt like supernovas were exploding in my head. I only found out later that I'd gotten off easy. Just through the bulkhead in the bay next to mine, a whole team turned into... Look at me rambling on, Lord Captain. Pay no attention.
You never finished your story about the first time crossing the warp.
It wasn't like it was a very fun trip, Lord Captain. But look, if you want to be entertained, I'm the woman for the job. I'll entertain you with one of the stories from my collection, no problem. But if you want to hear about the time I melted everyone in the bay next door, well, I just don't really want to go into the details on that one, all right?
What'd you do before you came on the ship?
Oh, I embroidered wall hangings in honor of our national heroes. I did the same thing I do here, Lord Captain. Divining. Our rulers prized the ability to see into the future. Every psyker that could be found was worth a small fortune on Lyra. There's no such thing as a peaceful life on Lyra. People like me were especially sought after. They'd pick psychers up wherever they found them, buy kids off their parents, even just abduct them. Take me, for instance. I got taken from my street gang. The older kids sold me when they noticed there was something off about me. The ruling dynasties had schools where they trained us and beat us black and blue. And then they packed us off to serve. Some of us held on for a long time, but others didn't last. Not everyone's as smart and talented as me, you know. Some people crossed the line and were out of commission before their time.
How'd you end up on a rogue trader's service?
Theodora von Valancius paid a visit to the ruler I was serving at the time. I don't know what the visit was for, and it's no business of mine anyway. I can still remember the way the voices in my head changed when I looked at her. They were practically screaming. She had so much behind her, and plenty ahead of her too. As I gawped at her, all of a sudden I heard a whisper. A hint, a suggestion, nothing more. But I know the difference between idle chatter and a real threat. I seized my chance and approached Theodora. I managed to whisper a couple of words in her ear before the wardens dragged me away. They beat me and locked me up. No wonder. It wasn't my place to converse with outsiders. And then Theodora's people came for me. They broke down the wall, butchered the guards. Also, I could tell them my warning in full. So I said the rest, but I didn't want to go back to my old life. And so I entered the service of the Van Valancius dynasty.
We obviously know the answer to this question, but have you ever been off the ship?
A few times. Not many. And if I think about it, why would I want to? I've got everything I need here. All the whispers I hear are familiar ones. They almost feel like family. And if I want to hear about the nightmares off the ship, I can. After some Amisec. But don't go getting the wrong idea. If I have to, I'll follow you to the edge of the galaxy.
Let's talk about something else.
Of course, Lord Captain.
Got a new story for me?
You bet I do, Lord Captain. Okay, so we went to Footfall once. Well, I mean, Lord Captain Theodora went to Footfall a lot. But on that occasion, she took me with her for some reason. My day had gotten off to a bad start. My head had been yammering since I woke up, but there was nothing else for it. I had to go. We arrived at the place, and what a place! All the gentlemen and ladies dressed to kill, showing off their encrusted implants, all clustered around little tables. Well, turned out it was a gaming den. And not just any gaming den, but one run by somebody with deep pockets for people with just as much cash to splash. You should have seen it. People gambling away planets in a game of regicide. Anyway, so the Lord Captain wanted me to help her beat some guy. So I tell her, the chips won't land in your favor. You'll get a bad hand. Don't sit down at that table, your ladyship. But did she listen? Of course she didn't. If there's one thing she never lacked, it's stubbornness. So they sat down and the cards were dealt. I'm hovering around like I'm not involved, but I'm keeping my eye on things. And everything in my head keeps getting louder and louder. Anyway, it's a good thing I realized in time that my mind wasn't going haywire over a losing hand, but something else. I made some excuse to drag the Lord Captain up from the table and took her away from that place. And a few minutes later, the room where we'd been... It turned out some wise guy had the same bright idea to bring a pet psyker along with him. One of those ones who just scuttle around in Footfall's underbelly. And the psyker just freaked out, I guess. After all the commotion, people went to see what happened in the room. And they'd all gone for each other's throats. Literally. With teeth. And I think they completely detached that asteroid from Footfall and pushed it off into open space so it would head off toward the local star.
What's it like being a psyker?
Lord Captain, forgive me, but it would be like talking to a person born blind about colors. I could spend hours explaining, but it wouldn't make any sense to you. Every psyker feels their connection with the warp in their own way. One person might see spots and shadows out of the corner of their eye. Another feels fingers running down their spine. As for me, I've got a door in my head. One that's open just a crack. There's no way to close it, no matter how hard I try. I've just had to get used to the whispers from the other side. When I need to use it for work, I listen in more closely. But I usually just try not to notice it.
How do you live with this whispering in your head?
Training, habit, and a little Amasec and a couple other things you can get on the lower decks. If you put all those together, it makes things bearable. Sometimes I even wonder if I'm imagining half the voices I hear. You know, when life on board gets a little boring. Better than listening to the living, anyhow.
What would happen if your door burst open?
Well, if the door opens, that means somebody's planning to come in, right? But screw them. They're not coming through. Trust me. I know how to keep my valuable head locked up tight.
Aren't you afraid of losing control?
Only losers who are afraid of their own gift lose control. Or idiots who never figure out what they are before it's too late. Or little kids who want to play around with their shiny new toy. If you don't know the limits of your abilities, or you're always bouncing around in your own head, that's a recipe for disaster.
You see my future.
All right. That's what I'm here for, after all. So, I'm just going to lean on that door in my head a little more, prick up my ears, and listen to what the warp's got to say about you. If you'll allow it, I can listen right now.
Sure.
All right, let's hear what they're whispering about you. Seek not on firm ground, but in a golden hall suspended in the void. There waits a child without kin, but with a name blind to truth. She draws the brush across the canvas and does not notice that her palette is full not of paint, but of blood. And with each smear, this well does not deplete, but fills and fills up to the brim. One thing is clear. When this vessel overflows, none will remain unstained. Among the blind men and false prophets, a red-robed sage seeks the answer to a question. He does not know that it is not the answer he must seek, but the question that will draw everything into focus. Will you help him, rogue trader? But mark that sometimes ignorance is sweeter than oblivion. A chained hound chases after glimmers of the aurora, but sparks and the scent of oil confound his nose. A chain trails after him. What will happen if you pick it up? Will you become his master, or merely another beast in the pack of his true lord? The glow of dawn bursts forth from its prison. Dungeon walls cannot contain the dark essence wallowing in the dust. A naive cub pushes his nose into a familiar hand, one that holds death in twisted glass. Cherish it or cast it off as a burden. The sword of change has already been raised. What is one more life to it? I'm sorry, Lord Captain. The voices are going wild. I can't make out a thing. I'll try to rein them in, somehow. But for now...
I'd like to hear your augury idea. What works for me in the future?
All right. Let's hear what the...
We just went through this. Yeah, okay.
I'm sorry,
Did you know
Lord Captain.
Theodora von Valancia as well?
None of the officers knew the Lord Captain well. Not even Abelard, and she was always closer to him than anyone else. She told me from the off that if I ever listened to anything in the warp about her without her permission, I'd be going out through the airlock. I'm not an idiot, so I never stuck my nose where it didn't belong. Only when I was asked. It's hard to wrap my head around the fact that she's gone. Lady von Valancius gave me everything I have. She opened the stars to me and the paths between them. I still think I can hear her voice.
Things are strained between you and Argenta, isn't that right?
The little sister is afflicted with her own set of voices. Ones that whisper to her about corruption and heresy. The silly girl doesn't realize that if she wants to find the source, she needs to start by looking in her own head.
I must take my leave.
Of course. Always at your service. Whenever you need me.
We might be splitting this into 2 episodes instead of just one long episode, because otherwise you guys are only getting 1 episode today. I'm just saying, because there's no way I can do another one today, especially if it involves any sort of reading. I don't know where that leads. Your lordship. Talk to him. Not done that. Talk to him, talk to him, talk to them, talk to them, talk to them. Let's go check out our quarters before the end of the episode. Since we're probably splitting it into 2, we might as well finish up here. Loot, 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 loot. I don't know what the heck that is, but there's something over there. Alright. Quarters look great. Hey, we can see what the book is now. The hefty tome contains schematics of the flagship of House von Valancius, in addition to the plethora of notes and copies of reports and other documents. The majestic portrait, painted by a skilled artist, greets guests who entered and grant information into the Lord Captain's quarters. 5% armor, +1 resolve when they kill an enemy. Okay. Full wounds, +5 to all characteristics. I mean, that's pretty good too, right? I'm not gonna equip that. You can have that. I'll let you equip that. You can have that one. Ooh, wait a minute. Immunity to critical hits. So you can have that one. Blast pistols, we're gonna send those to the cargo. I don't know what that's about. We're gonna keep it. Looks like it's like quest items. Taking the clock is too quiet for its bulky sound. The light glinting off the polished skull of some unknown Xenos makes it seem like the bony face is mocking you. Blast wave, 200 ranged weapon. Heirloom auto pistol. Wrath of St. Drasus. Doesn't have an area attack. Increases damage from all sources against any hit targets by +15%. These might be like pre-order stuff, which I'm fine with that. The bookshelves are packed with ancient books, piles of papers, and tomes, many of which are their worn. I think we're gonna equip this. No, that's actually worse than what we've got. What if we had it in one in each hand? I mean, that looks kind of cool, doesn't it? And we just had like this heirloom auto pistol over here, maybe. Maybe the. I don't think I want the blast one. Be like double. That looks kind of cool. You are actually going to get. So I like the bolter, but then when you're up close, I want you to have like a shotgun. Yeah, I want you to do that instead. Let's go ahead and add those to the cargo. You have your little chain sword, which is cool, and your auto pistol. And you also have a shotgun. And then you have this. Let's give you a two-handed just in case it's better. And then we're gonna go ahead and send these to the cargo. A vault. Interesting. Von Valance's ancestry records. Shrine of Remembrance. Oh my lord. Probably like some beta thing or something. Positions of the pieces on the board suggest the game as of register was interrupted. The winner was never determined. The glinting of the displayed weapons is mesmerizing. We have never seen so many articles before. Its fine sculpture made from a strange metal seems to absorb any rays of light that fall upon it. The liturgies of the faithful to his word and name. The text below is solemn heading. It looks noticeably faded. It appears that the prayer book has been kept open on this page for a very long time. I've already done that one. More goods. Cracked data slate. The final transactions with the charters are now complete. The fire reckoning is now fully equipped. The object has been loaded on the board with containment intact and placed in the forebay to ensure maximum contact. Interesting. What's that? Can I like info read it? Fire reckoning is crewed by the servitor. Just the ship returning are minimal. Interesting. I don't know what that's about. Unfinished letter. His chagrin is irrelevant. Voigtver's mistake cost me too much. Years of work, tremendous resources all wasted. He has failed at what he was supposed to be irreproachable at, uncovering spies, and that one was a senior officer. I'm not about to discard him. Conrad has served me for too long. If his removal will go painlessly for the Protectorate. Besides, he's no fool. He could not have seriously expected to become the next in the Von Valance's line when his skills and talents as Master of Whispers are so valuable. Let his disinheritance serve as a humility, but instructive lesson from which he may yet learn. Beyond the stained glass and the distant stars glimmer in the darkness of endless space, filling you with an odd sense of dread. And then the baths. Oh, wait. The long dead eyes of the fierce monster forever capture the fear and pain in its final moments. The water's calming murmurs and warm steam feel inexplicably deceptive. A moment of weakness and rest promises nothing but danger. And that is everything in here. Cool. Well, guys, this has been a very long recording for me. Not as long for you all because I probably split it into 2 episodes. But for me, it's been an hour and 10 minutes, an hour and 11 minutes. So we're going to go back to the bridge. And we're going to call this an episode. And next time around, we're going to see what this is all about. I'll see you guys then. But until then, peace.